Matt, take us home here.
There's a lot of, I would say, false narratives out there, from a bunch of different sources about who Shedeur is, what type of person he is as he goes through the draft process of being heavily scrutinized. As somebody who shared that quarterback room with him for the last couple of years, what kind of person, what kind of teammate, what kind of leader would you say he is?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time with Shedeur, obviously. I think I have nothing but the best words to say. I followed in his footsteps. I got to watch him for 2 years. And he's a leader by example. I think he goes through his life correctly, and I think he's a great teammate, and he's a good leader too. I saw him bring that locker room together and lead that team last year to a lot of success that we had, and so I think he's going to have great success, and I have all the positive words in the world to say about him.
Coach Prime might have just stumbled on his secret weapon, and the craziest part, he wasn't even supposed to play. All eyes were on Julian Lewis, the 5-star phenom who flipped his commitment and came to Boulder to be the future. Then there was Deion Salter, the experienced transfer brought in to fix Colorado's broken run game. Everyone thought it was a two-man race, but with just 50 seconds left on the clock, a forgotten name took the field. Ryan Staub didn't just show up. He lit the entire offense on fire. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, perfect execution, and an offense that looked sharper than it had all season. And in that moment, one thing became clear. Colorado's QB1 might not be who anyone expected. But how did this happen? Why was Staub buried on the bench for 2 years? And what does this mean for Coach Prime's locker room, star recruits, and future plans? The truth behind Staub's sudden rise and the chaos it's about to ignite might just be the wildest QB story in college football this year. The quarterback room at Colorado is starting to look less like a game plan and more like a guessing game. Coming into the season, it was supposed to be simple. With Shedeur Sanders off to prepare for the NFL, Deion Sanders needed someone who could take the reins and lead the Buffs into a new era. So what did he do? He brought in experienced talent. Deion Salter, a dual-threat quarterback out of Liberty, a proven runner who could add explosiveness to the ground game. And then, of course, there was Julian Lewis, a high school star, 5-star recruit, and media magnet, flipping his commitment to team up with Coach Prime. 2 big names, 2 vastly different stories, but neither delivered what Colorado needed when it mattered. Salter had flashes, yes. He could move, he made smart decisions at times, and he posted solid stats. But the offense? It felt stuck. The rhythm wasn't there. Misreads, misthrows, wideouts, frustrated. Meanwhile, Lewis, despite the hype, looked completely overwhelmed. A 3-and-out, pressure in his face, and the moment clearly just too big. And as doubt started creeping in for fans, chaos took over. Because when you've got 3 quarterbacks taking serious snaps in a single game, that's not depth. That's indecision. And indecision at quarterback? That's a disaster in disguise. Suddenly, no one knew who the guy was. There wasn't a leader. There wasn't even a plan. But just when the situation looked like it was spiraling, a name no one had talked about took the field. Not Salter, not Lewis. It was Ryan Staub. And what happened next broke the entire depth chart wide open. It started as a desperation move, a last-minute decision, with the game teetering and questions piling up. Colorado's offense had stalled, the crowd was restless, and Coach Prime needed someone, anyone, to give the team life. So with less than a minute left in the first half, Ryan Staub stepped onto the field. No warm-up, no flow, no preparation. Just a 50-second drill, and a quarterback nobody had talked about all week. And then, boom, Staub didn't just manage the clock. He marched down the field like it was routine, calm, precise, confident. He capped the drive with a touchdown, not a field goal. Then, on the following possession, he aired it out 70 yards to Sincere Brown. And in just 10 plays, he had posted 2 touchdowns and 157 yards on only 8 throws. You could feel the shift immediately. The offense clicked. The players were energized. The sideline was buzzing. In a matter of minutes, Ryan Staub didn't just shake up the game. He changed the entire quarterback conversation. This wasn't just a hot hand. It wasn't luck. Staub looked composed, decisive, and locked in with his receivers. His timing was crisp. He found open windows with ease. And most surprising of all, his teammates responded. The crowd had no clue who he was 10 minutes earlier. Now, people were chanting his name. Coach Prime may have walked into this game experimenting, but he walked out with a real problem on his hands. Because Ryan Staub didn't ask for the spotlight, but when it found him, he made it impossible to look away. Long before the spotlight, before the fan chants and viral highlights, Ryan Staub was just a forgotten name on the depth chart, a quiet figure in a loud program, waiting for a shot that never seemed like it was coming. He wasn't some five-star sensation. He didn't arrive with headlines or hashtags. In fact, he committed to Colorado 10 months before Shedeur Sanders ever set foot on campus, back in 2022, a time when the team was struggling through a 1-11 nightmare season. When Coach Prime showed up with his now infamous Louis luggage speech and cleared out most of the roster, Staub stayed. He survived the purge. No flash, no ego, just hard work and loyalty. Then came 2 full years behind Shedeur Sanders, one of the most polarizing and heavily scrutinized quarterbacks in college football. While others transferred at the first sign of competition, Staub stayed and learned. He watched how Shedeur handled pressure, how he read the field, how he carried himself through chaos. And when asked about it later, Staub only had praise for Shedeur, calling him a leader, by example, and someone he learned a lot from. No bitterness. He knew his role. He played it with patience, and he waited. Through coaching changes, roster rotations, and a revolving door of quarterbacks being brought in ahead of him. But here's the twist. He never left, and now he might be the last one standing. From quiet backup to team spark in under a minute, Ryan Staub is proof that sometimes the best option isn't the flashiest. It's the one who's been ready all along. Most backup quarterbacks come in cautious, safe throws, vanilla play calls, just trying not to screw anything up. Ryan Staub, he walked in like he owned the field. With 50 seconds on the clock, he wasn't asked to run out the half or take safe checkdowns. He marched the Buffs downfield and scored a touchdown in a 2-minute drill that wasn't even 2 minutes. Then he came back, dropped a perfect deep ball to Sincere Brown for 70 yards and a second touchdown. And just like that, the entire vibe of the offense changed. Staub finished the game 5 of 8 for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns, numbers that jump off the stat sheet. But it wasn't just the stats. It was how he did it. He commanded the huddle. He looked confident pre-snap. He read the field quickly and delivered precise strikes with perfect timing. There was no hesitation, no nerves, just a quarterback in control. He even flashed some mobility when the pocket collapsed, showing real awareness under pressure. But what really stood out? The energy. The team responded to him. Suddenly, receivers were getting open. The offensive line looked sharper. Plays were clicking. The rhythm that had been missing all game, Staub brought it. It wasn't about arm strength or raw talent. It was about presence, composure, leadership. Those things you can't measure with a stopwatch or star rating. And this wasn't garbage time. Colorado still had to close the game. The pressure was real. And Staub delivered without flinching. 1 appearance, 10 plays, 2 touchdowns, and now an entire quarterback room in chaos. If there's one unspoken rule in football, it's this. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you really don't have one. Right now, Colorado has 3. Taden Salter was supposed to be the guy, a transfer with dual threat ability, experience, and the promise of fixing the run game. And at times, he looked solid. In fact, his stats weren't bad. 13 for 16, 102 yards, 2 scoring drives. But he still left plays on the field. The offense never felt like it found a rhythm with him under center. He felt more like a placeholder than a playmaker, like someone just trying to stop the bleeding until a better option appeared. Julian Lewis, the freshman phenom, was brought in to be the future. A 5-star USC flip and just 17 years old. His ceiling is sky high. But his debut? Rocky. 3 plays, 3 outs. The moment was clearly too big. That's not a knock on his potential. It's just reality. He's not ready yet. Then there's Ryan Staub. No hype, no star-studded headlines, just performance. In less than a quarter, Staub showed more explosiveness, better field command, and stronger chemistry with WRs than either Salter or Lewis managed all game. And now, the fan base is divided. The coaching staff has a real problem because Salter's experience doesn't outweigh Staub's momentum. And Lewis's future doesn't help Deion win right now. If Staub's performance wasn't a fluke and nothing about it looked like one, how can you send him back to the bench? Coach Prime has a decision to make. But no matter who he picks, somebody's going to be mad. And that's only the beginning of the drama. Talent wins games, but in today's college football, politics win playing time. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is sitting on a powder keg because this isn't just a quarterback choice. It's a philosophy test. Colorado has invested in hype. High school stars, big-name transfers, NIL deals, the whole nine. Julian Lewis flipped from USC for a reason. Shedeur Salter left Liberty for a reason. These weren't just players. They were promises, commitments, investments in the future. Benching one of those guys? That's not just a coaching decision. That's a cultural earthquake. And Staub, he disrupts all of that. He's not part of the plan. He's not the 5-star. He's not the flashy rental. He's an old-school, blue-collar, sit-and-wait kind of athlete. The kind that modern rosters just don't have anymore. And that's what makes this so uncomfortable. Because if Coach Prime does stick with Staub, it sends a message. Loyalty pays off. Performance matters more than recruiting stars. But if he doesn't, and puts Staub back on the bench to avoid upsetting the plan, that sends a very different message. One that players, fans, and future recruits will all be watching. Plus, let's be real. In this NIL era arms race, transfers expect opportunities. Freshmen expect the spotlight. Patience isn't part of the contract anymore. Staub's rise is beautiful and inconvenient. Because at some point, Deion's gonna have to choose. The QB with the bigger story or the ones with the bigger billing. And either way, the fallout will be loud. Talent alone doesn't make a quarterback dangerous. It's the intangibles, the stuff that doesn't show up in a highlight reel, that separates a guy from the guy. And Ryan Staub, he's got the one trait this entire quarterback room has been missing: maturity. In a locker room full of flash, Staub has the quiet edge, the lived-in confidence of someone who's been through the fire without ever making noise about it. He didn't transfer out. He didn't air frustrations on social media. He didn't campaign for attention. He waited. He listened. He studied. 2 years on the sidelines, behind Shedeur Sanders, watching how he led, how he handled media pressure, how he carried a team, wasn't wasted time. It was preparation. And now, that experience is baked into Staub's game. His body language? Calm. Eyes downfield. No panic, even when protection started to break. His throws? On time, in stride. And full of trust in his receivers. You could tell he wasn't trying to prove himself. He already knew he belonged. That mindset? It's rare, especially in an era where most QBs jump ship after one spring practice without a starting job. But Staub's biggest edge might not be in his playbook or his arm. It's the way his teammates react to him. From the moment he stepped in, they believed in him. You could feel it. The tempo changed, the energy sparked, and suddenly everyone was locked into the same rhythm. That's not something you coach. That's something you command. And that kind of command, it's why Ryan Staub might not just win the job. He might never give it back. This wasn't supposed to happen. Ryan Staub was never the headline, never the future, never the plan. But now, Coach Prime, the man known for reshaping college football with flash, fame, and force, might be staring at something he didn't expect. A quiet kid with no hype and every answer. In 10 plays, Staub didn't just score points. He exposed a truth Deion Sanders now has to confront. That all the stars, rankings, and recruiting buzz mean nothing if the offense isn't moving and the locker room isn't believing. Right now, the offense believes in Staub, and maybe that's why his rise feels so dangerous. Not because he stole the spotlight, but because he never asked for it. He earned it. So now, Colorado faces a defining question. Do you stick to the blueprint or follow the fire? Because Ryan Staub isn't the flashy name. He isn't the big brand. He isn't the flashy commit fans were tweeting about 6 months ago. He's just playing better football than everyone else. Sometimes, the future doesn't arrive in the form of a 5-star. Sometimes, it looks a lot like the backup no one ever expected, until he made it impossible to put him back. So now we ask you, who's your QB1? Staub? Salter? Lewis? Drop it in the comments, because one thing's for sure, the most unexpected quarterback controversy in college football has only just begun.